My name is Dr. Mandisa Greene and I am a vet, and I want to talk to you today about what it means to be a vet. What a vet does, how I became a vet, how you could become a vet. Who here knows what a vet does? Okay, I can't hear you. So I'm just gonna say a vet is someone who looks after animal health and also looks after their welfare. So we look after animals when they're sick, but also make sure animals remain healthy by making sure they take the right medications and things like vaccination. What do I do? So on any given day, I will examine lots of animals. What equipment do I use? Generally, I use my mind, I use my hands, and I use things like a thermometer to check the temperature of the animal and make sure they don't have a fever. And I also use things like my stethoscope, which helps me listen to an animal's heart, check it's beating okay, and also listen to their lungs and check that they're breathing okay. Let me have a listen to yours. I wanted to be a vet at 8. Went to school. I studied really hard, the best I could. And then, when I finished high school, I went off to university. At university, you've got to get loads of experience with all different animals. Sometimes you've got to get it with big ones and little ones. Sheep, cows, pigs, chickens, cats. Finally, after many long years, I graduated as a vet. That was one of the happiest days of my life. Seeing as I wanted to be a vet since I was 8 years old. Finally, I got there. Yay! My kids asked me what was the worst thing that I'd possibly ever seen. What's the worst thing you've ever seen as a vet? So I've seen lots of bad things, but the thing that I'm going to tell you the most, the worst thing I've ever seen, was a dog which somebody called and said he needed his nails clipped, and they couldn't get near him because he was so vicious. So I went to the house with one of my nursing colleagues, my vet nurse colleagues, and we went to the house to see what was wrong with this dog. And when we got there, the dog was just standing by himself, not doing anything. And yes, his nails needed cutting because they were really curled in. When we took him back to the practice, we found not only were his nails really curled in and they were digging into his pad, but his fur was so clumped, so we had to shave it off. And when we shaved it off, guess what we saw underneath? Wiggly worms. Thankfully, we were able to give him some medicine and make him feel better, and his skin healed up in no time, and his nails were cut short, and he was able to go home and have a lovely life, and he's fine now. What does the typical day of a small animal vet look like? Well, I can tell you what my typical day looks like. The truth is, every vet has a different typical day. And the real truth is, there is no typical day of being a vet. I'll give you an example of one of the days that I would have. I get to work usually at around 5 minutes before my shift starts, and I will go into the building and go to my consulting room. So that's where I go with my computer and all of my equipment, and I wait for the first lot of clients and patients to come in. I usually will have a list of people waiting to see me, and on my list on this particular day there are a dog with an eye problem, there's a dog that's been to the emergency vets the night before, and there's a bunny rabbit. And I have to look at that list and decide who needs to be seen first. So on this day, I decide to see the dog that's been to the emergency vets first, because he is the one that is most critical, the one that's most hurt and needs me at this stage. So I call that dog in first. His name is Henry and he is a Labrador. And Labradors are generally family animals, and they're very playful and they like to eat, and they're just really lovely family dogs. But on this day, Henry's come to me and he's really sad and he went to the emergency vets because he was being sick all the night before. So he's been to the vets and they had a look at him, and they did some x-rays and they did some scans of his belly, and they didn't know what was wrong, so they gave him some medicine to stop him from vomiting. So Henry's come to me and he's not vomiting anymore because the medicine worked, but he's still not himself. So I pass him over to my nursing colleagues, who will then take him to our practice, and they'll get him settled because I need to see the other animals that are waiting for me. So Henry goes in and he's being looked after by the nurses. They're going to make sure he has a really nice comfy bed. I go back out and it's my turn now to see the other animals that are waiting for me. So I've got to see next the dog that's come in with the eye problem. And I see that dog and I look after him, and then I see next another animal, the bunny rabbit that's coming for its injections, and I see that animal and I look after her. When I'm finished all of that, it's my time to go through now and check on Henry and decide what I need to do. So at this stage, my nursing colleagues have already done an x-ray of Henry, and I can look at it and I can see nothing. It's fine and it looks normal, and I'm not sure what's wrong with Henry, but I know that he's still not well. So I have to speak to his owners, who are my clients, and decide what my next steps are. So in this situation, I decide, along with Henry's owners, my clients, that I'm going to do a surgery on Henry. Problem is, if Henry's not eating, there could be something stuck inside of him. So if he's eaten something that's just too big for his guts, we'll have it be too big and it can't pass through. And if that's the problem, then he won't be able to eat for a long, long time. So I decide I'm going to do the surgery with on Henry, and I go through to my nursing colleagues and I let them know that Henry is ready for surgery. So they have to make sure that he's clipped and cleaned, and the area of his belly is prepared for me. And then I have to do an operation. I do the operation and I open the Henry up, and I have to look into his tummy, and I find that there is something stuck inside his guts, and actually it was corn on the cob. So my job then is to remove the corn on the cob and take it out and stitch his guts back together, and then I wake him up. So still feeling a bit poorly because he's just had a big surgery, and then I then have to take a break because I've been in the surgery in the vet's practice for a lot of hours at that stage, doing my consultations, which are my appointments, and then I do my surgery. So after that, it's time to take a break. I come back after my break and I find that Henry's still feeling a bit poorly, but he's fine. He's not had any problems after surgery, and I'm comfortable that he is nice and stable. So my job at that stage is to go back to my consulting room, so my office, and to see any more clients coming to see me. And I will have a list of pets coming to see me, some for things like vaccinations, some for things like sickness or diarrhea, and I will have to see and treat all of those animals on the afternoon when I come back from my lunch break. I'll do that until the evening time, maybe about 6 o'clock, and then I still have Henry. So whilst I'm consulting, so whilst I'm seeing the other patients, I'll move through to where Henry is resting, and I'll keep checking that he's okay and keep checking that he's not in any pain. And once I'm happy with that, I come back through and see all of my clients back and forth throughout the evening. In the evening time, when it's time for me to go home, I still have Henry there, and I have to decide at that stage what happens to Henry. In this situation, I let Henry go back to the emergency vet because he's still feeling a bit sad, and I want to make sure that he's not in pain overnight. So Henry goes to the vets, and he will stay at another vet practice overnight whilst they stay with him all through the night, and they make sure that he has no pain, they make sure that he is comfortable. And I go home knowing that I did a really, really good job saving Henry because he had something stuck inside of him. And I know that when I come back the next day, I have to do it all over again. I'm not sure what's going to happen to Henry, but that's very much the life of a vet. You don't always know what's going to happen tomorrow, but you know that today you did the best you could. As well as being a small animal vet, I'm also the president of an organization called the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons. Every vet in the United Kingdom has to be a member of the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons so that they could practice as a vet. So I'm the president of that organization. And part of my wish for my year as president is to speak to you and let you know that you too could be a vet if you wanted to. You don't have to have an animal, a pet at home. You don't have to go to vets. You just have to like animals and like people. That's all you need to be a successful vet. I hope you consider it. Do I have any pets? Well, yes I do. So I have 2 cats. This is one of them, and the other one's outside playing. And so I have 2 lovely cats. I look after them. I love them very much, and I think they love me. Yes.